Miami Condo Mondays is a live podcast on the first workday of the week at 4 p.m. South Florida time. The program features former journalist and current Wall Street consultant Peter Zaleski of the Miami Condo Investing Club and former lender and veteran condo broker Jenny Huertas of CVRRealty.com. Recorded weekly in greater downtown Miami, this 1-hour discussion will provide a refreshing and sometimes controversial perspective on the state of the South Florida condo market from a pair of seasoned real estate professionals who do not always agree. The program won't tell you what to think about the South Florida condo market, but will give you something to think about before buying, selling, taking listings, or financing units. This podcast is not authorized by the Miami real estate industry and will quite possibly annoy many of its figureheads. Welcome to this week's episode of Miami Condo Mondays, broadcast live on the social media accounts of Peter Zaleski and Jenny Huertas.
Happy Monday, Miami. This is Miami Condo Mondays, a 1-hour podcast about what's going on in the South Florida condo market. I'm Peter Zaleski. I'm a condo consultant, expert witness, also founder of Miami Condo Investing Club. I'm joined here by my partner, Jenny Huertas. She's a broker owner of CVR Realty. Check out her website, cvrrealty.com. We got you for an hour, and what are we going to discuss today? We're going to go ahead and tell you which are the best and which are the worst condo markets in the tri-county South Florida area of Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County. We're looking at 23 different markets. We're not afraid to name names, and we're going to do it. What's the data based on? It's based on our Miami Condo Cliff Index. This is a week-over-week index, a metric that we track just to sort of evaluate all of these different markets based on an apples-to-apples basis. So that's where we're getting into today. So you're going to want to stick around, and you're going to want to watch it. Why? Because we're going to be sharing charts. You're watching it live, so you're going to see the chart for free. If you try to watch it on demand, you are going to probably have to be a member of the Miami Condo Investing Club, where you can sign up at miamicondo.club. But many of the charts are going to be behind the paywall. So that is what you get for watching it live. Remember, every weekday at 4 o'clock, I do a live podcast dealing with something related to the South Florida condo market. Long way of saying all of that. Jenny Huertas, how's it going?
Hello, Peter. Welcome 2026. This is our first podcast after New Year's. I'm excited, and we're going to do an analysis based on the whole last year, right? Correct?
Yep. Based on the whole entire 2025, where we've been tracking it week over week over week. Jenny, it was a little bit over a year ago that we came up with this index. It's officially called the Miami Condo Association Financial Cliff Investors Index. And what it does is it basically is tracking on a week-over-week basis active listings as well as pending sales. And you're trying to see if they work, if they move in unison, if they move in opposite directions. Ideally, you want more pending sales than you want listings, and that would suggest that it's a stronger market for the seller. And if you have the opposite, where there's more listings than pending sales, that's going to suggest the advantages to the buyer. So far, so good, Jenny? Is it making sense?
So far, so good. It's a great thing that you're using pending sales instead of active listings. It would be more accurate.
Well, what we're trying to do is we're trying to see the relation of what's going on. But more importantly, what we're trying to do is we're trying to overcome the challenge or the obstacle of closed sales. When a deal closes, it could have been 30 days ago, 60 days ago, 90 days ago, 120 days ago, and you say, well, what does that mean? Well, typically, a lot of people in the industry, they put out stuff at the end of the quarter. So if you did a transaction at the beginning of a quarter, by the time the end of the quarter comes, which is 90 days plus whatever time it takes to tabulate data, that's how late it is. So it doesn't really reflect what's going on currently on the ground. It reflects what happened 30, 60, 90, 120 days ago. And, it's all good and fine and good, but does it really give you a perspective of where we are today? Think about if you were looking at data before and after Liberation Day, when President Trump took the average tariff rate in the United States from about 4% up to north of 17%, according to Morgan Stanley. That's a big difference. That is a seismic change, and obviously market conditions are a little bit different. So the reason we set up this index is we can look at it week over week over week, all of these 23 different markets, and we can not only look at it for the overall condo market, but also more importantly, the vintage condo market. And the vintage condos, Jenny, are those condos that are at least 30 years old. Those are the ones that are under greater scrutiny because of the collapse of the Surfside condo tower, the Champlain Tower South. that collapsed back in June of 2021. It led to all kind of legislative changes in the way that condos are basically studied, the way they're evaluated, the way they're funded, the way that they are maintained. So a lot of big changes went on, and what we did with the index in anticipation of all this, we began the index on January the 1st, 2025 for overall, and then we followed suit with vintage, which again, 30 years or more, and we're tracking it over week, over week, over week. So it can help you. If you're a buyer, you want to go after an index that's low, and if you were a seller, you want to go after an index that's high, and that will show you basically who has the advantage.
Exactly. What I meant to say was close sales. I say active, but it's close sales because normally that's what we do. Normally in a regular analysis, we check the close sales, but it's pending is something that is give you a better idea of what is really moving.
Yeah, it does give you an idea of what's really moving. And what you know what it also shows you, Jenny? It shows you what is falling through and not going forward. Because remember, when you buy a condo, there is a rescission period. There's a period of time, whether it's new or whether it's existing, there's a period of time where that buyer has the ability to back out. Just imagine, Jenny, if you could do that when it was related to like maybe buying a car, or maybe it was committing to something, and you say, I'm not sure if I like it. I'm going to go ahead and rescind my offer. I'm going to cancel the deal. Well, condos allow you to do that. And what we find in looking at the data week over week over week is sometimes people enter into deals and then they pull the ripcord. Maybe it's financing related. Maybe it's the fact that they've looked at the condo declaration, which is going to lay out all the rules of engagement for that particular association. And people make adjustments. They make decisions. And, you know, some of them go forward and some of them sort of piss off and call it a day and move on to the next project.
Yes, exactly. That is a great index that was created when last year, right? Like in the beginning of the year.
No. We began tracking everything on January the 1st. January. So it was all done intentionally. January the 1st of 2025. So we've been, you know, we're 54 weeks into it now, effectively 53 weeks, something like that. So what's interesting is you look at the line chart, you can really sort of track how it's going, and it shows you, you know, and then you peg the line to maybe what was going on elsewhere. And then it becomes very interesting, at least in trying to get a perspective. You know what, Jenny, rather than talking about all this, let me go ahead and just sort of give people an idea. And I will tell you, the first one I'm going to show you, it's going to look like a mess. You're going to be looking at like, what the hell am I looking at exactly? So let me just go ahead and give people a perspective of what we're talking about, this line chart. And you just give you a glimpse, and then I will go ahead. I'll probably close it down, and then we'll start over. Yeah, here we go. That should give you a good shot. All right, so there you go, Jenny. That's what we're looking at. That is 23 condo markets in Tri-County, South Florida area of Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County. And the way we're sort of defining these markets is you got South Florida being one market. That's going to be the Tri-County area. Then you're going to have another market for Miami-Dade. You'll have another market for Broward County. You have another market for Palm Beach County. Jenny, then we're going to go submarket after submarket after submarket, and you'll get everywhere from Greater Downtown Miami, Coconut Grove, North Bay Village, Miami Beach, Fisher Island, Sunny Isles Beach, Hollywood, Hallandale, Fort Lauderdale, Pompano, Boca, Delray, West Palm Beach, and Palm Beach Island. So we're kind of tracking all of this, all of it probably for the most part, unless it's county-wide, it's going to be, for the most part, east of Interstate 95, mostly coastal markets, because that's kind of what we say. When you're east of Interstate 95, we really kind of look at that as a condo trading pit, more so than family of four and a dog living the American dream in terms of the buyer. So when you're east of 95, these tend to be speculators. They're coming in 3, 5, 7 years. They're trying to play within the cycle, the current pace of 7 to 10 years. And these people want to get in and they want to get out. And one of the ways you can kind of use this index is you can go ahead, Jenny, and you can see who's strong and who's rising and who's actually falling. And that should give you some indication. If you're not necessarily dependent on location, but more so you're chasing value. And the difference between an investor, Jenny, and a speculator is an investor is looking for return on their money annually. A speculator is willing to go long, hope that ultimately that the place sells for more than than they paid, the investor originally paid. And they're willing to subsidize the tenant along the way, versus an investor is probably not likely to do that. So this almost serves as like a compass. It almost serves as like a radar. If you think about airplanes flying into Miami International Airport, or maybe not because of what happened over the weekend when the U.S. Went into Venezuela and grabbed President Maduro, they basically shut down all the traffic at Miami International Airport and a lot of flight traffic going in and around the Caribbean. So, you know, this is how you can get a gauge. You look at this type of thing and you figure out, okay, where can I go? Where can I not go? Let me give the big picture radar. And then you start to drill down into the areas that maybe actually make sense. Then you use some of the other fundamentals to figure out, okay, is this a market I want to play in? Is it a market I don't want to play in? If I am going to play in a market, am I going to go off the 1% rule, which says my monthly rent represents 1% of value? Or am I going to go off a capitalization rate where I take my rent and then I minus the property taxes, the maintenance, I come up with a figure, I divide that into the purchase price to come up with some sort of ratio. So, again, it's part of building the case when you go out there and you try to play the market, especially in a climate where condos are facing a significant headwinds because prices are too high, inventory's building, and sales are stalling.
Yes, absolutely. It looks like when the hurricane is coming, you have on these spaghetti projections with their own different colors and the possibilities. And I just like, it looks like that. But this is really cool because this really gives you an idea what is happening, and it's not just a few months; it's a whole year. So it really shows you the trends of where we're heading to.
And Jenny, as you look at it, you're going to see when when President Trump first got in, there's a lot of optimism. Suddenly, if you look at the beginning of it, there was a bit of a boost. Things were going up, and then we get to around Liberation Day in April, and then stuff starts to go down. Then we're scraping along the bottom. You got different changes. Then you have interest rates cuts. You have this and that. You have units that come off the market in August. And then right after Labor Day in September, then they start to build up again. So, it really kind of tracks what we all just went through. And I think anybody playing the real estate game, especially the condo game in the last year, that's probably how they feel, Jenny. What do you think? Does that line chart, does that not reflect basically the uncertainty and the wait and see perspective a lot of people had in 2025?
Yes, it's a second thought. It looks like a roller coaster. And it's exactly what it was. A roller coaster of a year.
Yes, it was a roller coaster of a year. So, Jenny, let me go ahead and close out this one. And I want to get to the best and the worst markets, because this is what we told everybody we were going to discuss. And let me go ahead and pull that up. So, all right. Now, let me just remind you, you're watching this live, therefore you're going to be able to see all the charts. If you go to watch this in the future, like later today, you're going to have to be a member of the Miami Condo Investing Club. To sign up, go to miamicondo.club. This is information that we consider actionable, and it's real time. It's something where you can basically take advantage of it and kind of play the market. So because you're tuning in live, and this is the reason to watch live at 4:00 every weekday, you're able to get access to this. But after this concludes, you basically need to be a member of the Miami Condo Investing Club. If you decide to join the club, what you're going to get is access to all of our information that we put out. We put out about 5, 6, 7 reports a week. Many of them increasingly are in the form of a podcast, so therefore you can actually listen to it or you can watch it. But on Sundays, I come up with a market intelligence report. Jenny, we're coming up on 20 years of doing the Miami Condo Market Intelligence Report. We started in 2007. Just to give an idea. But that comes out every Sundays. Once a month, we do a monthly meeting where I invite everybody who's a club member to come in. We talk about where are we, where were we, where are we going. That's always done on the second Wednesday of every month. It's held from noon to about 1:15. And then also, too, we do a meetup on the third Tuesday of every month. We have alternating locations. We try to spread it out throughout the tri-county area of Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County. And members are able to come. They're able to hobnob. They're able to pitch their services, ask questions, share war stories, basically commiserate as to what's going on in the marketplace. So that's some of the stuff you get as being a club member of the club. What you also get to is you get a discount on tours. We do tours. We do walking tours and bus tours. Every Saturday from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock, you'll have an opportunity to go out to a particular market. You'll walk it. I'll give you a list of every condo that exists within that particular building. We'll give you an analysis. We'll teach you how to analyze, how to evaluate, how to assess these condo buildings. So therefore, you can go out and do whatever it is you want to do, whether you want to buy a condo or whether or not you're a listing agent and you don't know if you should actually take on that listing or not. We're giving you straight data, the hard data. We're also giving it to you in such a way where you should be able to get a much better sense rather than some of the Convention and Visitor Bureau and Chamber of Commerce messaging that's out there. So these are all part of the tidbits of being a club member. So give it some thought, miamicondo.club for that. Jenny, let me go ahead and pull up the chart I want to talk about. We're going to talk about what are the best and the worst condo markets in the Tri-County South Florida area. So here we go. And we're going to go overall, Jenny, and then we'll follow
Okay.
it by vintage. Remember, vintage is 30 years or more. So here we go with the overall market.